Page 128. Yedi nefesh harachaman, Yedi nefesh harachaman, Meshoch avdecha el ritzonecha. Again, page 128 in the middle. Yedi nefesh harachaman, Yedi nefesh harachaman, Meshoch avdecha el ritzonecha. Yarutz avdecha, yarutz avdecha, kemo haya, yishtacha v'yayayay, anararayayay, el mul hadarecha, yishtacha last time.
Shabbat Shalom. And welcome to everyone who is here in person, and welcome to all of those who are joining us virtually. We're so glad to be together on this Shabbat. If you have a Siddur in front of you, a prayer book, it should say Mishkan Tefillah, big blue book. If it is a thinner volume and you have 2 page numbers at the corner of your page, then when the cantor and I call numbers, we're going to mean the ones inside the brackets. And if you have a giant, enormous book that you need 3 of you to hold up, we'll just call the page number on the corner of your book. Tonight is so many things. We know it's Highest Refugee Shabbat. It's Shabbat Shira, the Shabbat of song. And it is the Shabbat that comes right before Tu B'Shvat. It is so many things we are packing into one very restful Shabbat. So let's begin, though, with this calendrical truth that this is the Shabbat that leads us into Tu B'Shvat, the holiday, the new year of the trees. That's on Sunday night. And maybe it is hard to imagine or get our heads around that this is the new year of the trees because it's 6 degrees outside. But right about now is, in fact, when the sap starts to flow in the trees, when the sweetness and warmth and renewal of spring starts to stir within the trunks. Shabbat is a lot like Tu B'Shvat, when Tu B'Shvat comes, when it's 6 degrees outside. We run all week long. We doubt, we stumble, we stress. We spend the week making lists and then trying to keep up with our lists and then losing our lists. That might just be me. And then Shabbat arrives in the midst of all of this, sometimes feels like chaos. And it says to us, rest, breathe. You are enough. You are whole. You're beautiful just as you are. You deserve sleep and laughter and joy. And we think, are you kidding? It's 6 degrees in here. I've got a lot to do. My feet are still running. I'm nowhere close to resting. I am nowhere close to being enough. But that's the very thing in the middle of it all, of all the chaos and all the rushing and all the doubt and all of how hard we are on ourselves, and we are hard on ourselves. The sap is already rising. We can hardly see it, less even can we believe it. But even now in the trees, the sap is rising. I heard this idea last week sometime from a rabbi, a teacher of mine, I think it was Dorothy Richmond, that the sap out there, it's already rising in the trees, and spring is coming, and warmth is coming, and new beginnings, and sunshine on our skin. It's on its way, even now. And even now, rest and slowness and breath and wholeness and enoughness and gentleness on our hearts. It's on its way, even in the midst of a week that is so fast-paced. Shabbat is on its way, already rising in us. Tonight, we begin to let it in, to let it find us and draw us towards it, and draw us towards one another, and draw us towards ourselves. On page 130, we continue with the Psalms of Shabbat in such joy and song. Lechu neranana.
Lechu neranana.
השמיים ותגר הארץ ירם הים ומלוא יעלו שרי כי בא לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים באמונתו. איי אללה, איי אללה, אללה, איי אללה, איי אללה, תגל הארץ ישמחו אמרבי ענן בערפל סביבה צדק ומשפט בכל פיסו אוהבי אדוני שנאו רע שומר נפשות חסידיו מיד רשעים יצילם זרעו על הצדיק וישרה שמחה שמחו צדיקים באדוני והודו לזכר קודשו 133 מזמור שירו לאדוני שיר חדש כי נפלאות עשה הושיע לו ימינו זרוע קודשו דיח אדוני ישועתו בעיני הגויים גילה צדקתו זכר חסדו באמונתו לבן ישראל ראו כל אפסי הארץ את ישועת אלוהינו הריעו לאדוני כל הארץ יצחו ורננו וזמרו זמרו בכינור וכל זמרה בחצות צרות וכל שופר הריעו לפני המלך אדוני רב הים ומלואו ותבל ויושבי בר נהרות ימתחוך יחד הרים ירדנו לפני אדוני כי בא לשפוט הארץ, ישפוט תבל בצדק, ועמים במישרים ידע.
The psalmist says, Shiru Ladonai Shir Chadash several times. Sing unto God a new song. And so it's Shabbat Shirah, so I guess we better sing a new song. This is a melody which we're going to sing now, and we're going to sing a few more times throughout the evening together. Once you get it, I invite you to join me on it. Thinking there's an extra beat, you're right. Something a little bit off in that melody, in the rhythmic structure. And it gives us an opportunity to think about what are those things that were off for us this last week that maybe threw us for a loop, that destroyed the natural order of of our daily routine. There's always something, right? If we're lucky, maybe only happens once a week. But sometimes it's one of those weeks when it happens every day. How do we deal with it? How do we deal with it? Do we just let it derail us and the rest of the day is shot? Or do we roll with it? Do we somehow find a way to go with that imperfection and turn it into something beautiful? How can we let that inform the way we spend our 25 hours on this Shabbat? Do we lean into the things that go wrong and embrace them? Do we run for the hills? What are we going to do? What are we going to do to make the world right?
Verse 5.
שלום, עטרת בהלה, גם בשמחה ובצרויה, תוך אמוני עם סגולה. בואי חלה, בואי חלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה,
פני שבת לקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת. Again, let's go. לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת לקבלה, לך דודי לקראת קהלה, פני שבת לקבלה. We remain standing, page 144. יתקדש שמי רבה, ועמד יברח חילותי וימליך מלכותי, בחיי חודות יום אחד, ובחיי לכל בית ישראל. עגלה ועגלה, ובזמן קריב אמרו, אמן יהי שמי רבה מברך, לעלם ולעלמי עלמיה. יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי דקודשה בריחו לעילה מן כל ברכתה ושירתה תושבחתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמה ואמרו אמן. ברכו את אדוני המבורך. ברוך אדוני מבורך לעולם ועד. Please be seated, page 148. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה. אדוני צבאות שמו אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני המעריב ערבים. 150. אהבת עולם בית ישראל עמך אהבת, תורה ומצוות חוקים ומשפטים אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו וקומנו נשיח בחוקיך ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נגע יומם ולילה. ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמי. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו אדוני אחד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. 154. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם במזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם אמת.
Page 158. One of the earliest melodies we have of Michamocha, which comes in this week's Torah portion.
מי כמוך באלים אדוני, מי כמוך נהדר בקודש, נורא תהילות אוסף אליך, נורא תהילות אוסף אליך, מלכותך ראו בניך פורקי הים, לפני משה ומרים, זה עניינו ואמרו, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד. ונאמר כי בדרנו את יעקב גלו מיד חזק ממנו, ברוך אתה אדוני גאל ישראל.
In a moment, we'll turn to Hashkivenu on page 160, our prayer where we ask to feel safe and protected. We think of the many times in our day that we might feel unsafe, or we might feel afraid when it gets dark or cold, or when we don't know the people around us, or when something in our gut or in the weather or in the news might make us worry about our safety or the safety of people that we love. And then on this night, when we lift up refugees, our own neighbors and our friends, people who literally worried this week about whether or not they would have a roof over their heads in our very own city, we pray that all people, that we, that everybody we love, that everybody who feels vulnerable on this night, that we can feel that above us is a Sukkat Shalom, that we can feel like there's a canopy of peace over us that protects us from the elements or protects us from any of the things that might make us afraid on this night, on this cold night. And we pray for safety in our bodies and our hearts and across this city and across this country and across this world, safety in our homes, safely in homes. And then we'll turn to our prayer for healing, our Misha Berach, and we'll take into our hearts everybody that we are worried about on this night. Anybody who is, maybe their body is aching or they're suffering in some way, or maybe they've had a really scary diagnosis this week, or they woke up feeling off, just as you said, Kenner, just off, and they don't know when they're going to feel whole again. Or somebody who's just feeling lost or alone or grieving. We gather them all and we point our hearts, just our deepest prayers, desires, and will, that they should feel better, that they should know refuah, health and wholeness, and they should know that on their way there, that they're not alone, and that we walk with them on this difficult path. And so if you're joining us virtually, we invite you to place any names of people you're praying for their healing into whatever chat space you're in, that we might pray with you for them. And here in this space, we'll share names in the midst of this prayer for healing.
Page 160.
השכיבנו, אדוני אלוהינו לשלום, והעמידנו שומרנו לחיים, ופרוס עלינו סוכת שלומך ותקננו בעצה טובה מלפניך, והושיענו למען שמך, והגן בדנו, והסר מעלינו אויב דבר, וחרב ורעב ויגון, והרחק ממנו עוון והפשע, ובצל כנפיך תסתירנו, כי אל שומרנו מצילנו אתה, כי אל חנון ורחום אתה, ושמור צאתנו ובואנו לחיים ולשלום, מעתה ועד עולם, מעתה ועד עולם. ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
371.
מי שברך אבותינו מקור הברכה לאמותינו, may the source of strength who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say,
Turn back in our prayer books to page 162 for singing Vishamru, to be followed by silent prayer from 164 to 181. For now, we rise 162.
Shavat vayinafash uvayom hashvi shavat By the waters of Babylon, we laid our lives down, laid our lives down. We sat and cried. By the waters of Babylon, we sang no sacred songs, sang no sacred songs. Our tongues were tied. Oh, 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 la, ya, la, oh, ya, la, 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 oh, ya, ya, ay, la, 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 oh, oh, la, 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 ay, ay, la, 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 ya, ya, oh. If I forget you, Jerusalem, I play no more again, play no more again, not one more time. Won't you show me Jerusalem, raised and broken, raised and broken, alone on high.
Shabbat Shalom. So tonight is Refugee Shabbat, which is a program of HIAS, which used to stand for the Hebrew Immigrant Aid Society and continues to be amongst the most trusted refugee and immigrant support organization in the country, and it's a longtime partner of CBE. We are so very grateful to have two incredible leaders who will speak tonight. Bonnie Kirker, who is one of the co-chairs of CBE's Refugee Task Force, and Leah Cover, a founder of that task force and executive director of Ruth's Refuge. I'll start with just a bit of a Torah connection and then hand it to our leaders who we most want to hear from. We are a people whose history is woven with the refugees' thread. Our story is written by the refugee's hand. Our songs are the songs of the refugee's heart. We're in Parshat Beshalach in Torah this week. As we tell it, after so many years of living under oppressive rule, we leave Mitzrayim, ancient Egypt, under the cover of darkness. We run from the home we knew and out into the night, ultimately towards what we are told is the promised land. This story etches on our very souls the refugees' story. We leave a land that was our home, a treacherous home, but a home. And we flee from terrifying violence perpetrated on us by our neighbors, from financial oppression and want where we never had enough, from religious oppression where we were not able to practice our own traditions. We flee because we are afraid for our children. Our baby boys' lives were threatened. What kind of a life is this? And so we flee. We didn't know where we were going. We heard that it was somewhere better. Someone told us, Moses told us that there was somewhere better. We understood that the journey would be very hard, maybe impossible, definitely dangerous. But we heard that beyond there was a new land where we'd be safe and free. We didn't know who would take us in when we arrived, not knowing the language or the culture, and with nothing but the clothes on our backs. But we hoped. And we couldn't stay here in Mitzrayim, so we left to seek refuge anywhere but Mitzrayim. We got to the sea, and it felt like all was lost. But then it parted, and we crossed. This is our story, our most fundamental and defining narrative as a people. It happens first here in this parsha, and then it repeats itself over and over and over again throughout Jewish history, and certainly through exiles and pogroms and genocide. It's in our bones, it's in our blood, it's in our hearts to know what it means to have to flee, to know what it is to still have hope, and to trust that we will find refuge somewhere safer, that someone will help us when we get there. And Torah does not leave it up to us to decide what to learn from this most defining narrative. 36 times in the Torah, we are instructed to care for the stranger, for we were once strangers in the land of Egypt, and we know Nefesh Hager, the soul of the stranger. As our feet landed on dry ground on the other side of the sea, we knew we were free. And immediately conferred upon us was the identity of both refugee and of refuge. I'm so grateful to invite forward now Leah Cover to share her story with us.
It's wonderful to be here with you all tonight. I'm Leah, and a longtime member of CBE. And I definitely have a very personal connection to the story of refugees, as I'm sure many people in this room do. My grandfather escaped Ukraine back in the early 1900s, escaping pogroms there. Both of his parents had been killed, and he fled with his siblings. The 8 of them made it out on their own, made their way to the U.S., and built a life here. And that's why I'm here today. And I think so many of us have very similar stories, because that's a very common story of the Jewish people, right? We had to flee all sorts of places, just like Rabbi Kulin was talking about. And so that's always been a part of who I am and a part of my identity as a Jew, and has always informed everything I've done. And so in 2015, when the world was facing the worst refugee crisis it had seen since World War II, and we of course know the refugee crisis in the world has continued to get worse and worse since that time. But in 2015, all eyes were on Syria, and there was a lot of attention at the time, and many of us within the Jewish community were becoming very, very activated by what we were seeing and saying, how could the world be doing this again, turning its back on people? We thought we had a system set up for this. That was our refugee admission system that was going to help people. And it was really failing. And we were seeing all the suffering, and so many of us wanted to do something. And here at CBE, there were lots of people who wanted to do something. And so I co-founded, along with Wendy Starr, the CBE Refugee Task Force. And at our first meeting in October of 2016, we had 40 people from this community, here in this room, actually, meeting with the highest representative and talking about what we could all do together. And from that started a really wonderful community of folks. We brought people together from both within the CBE community and throughout the Jewish community in Brooklyn, and also made partnerships with churches and people in Manhattan as well, and worked a lot on political advocacy. As you all can imagine, October 2016 was right before the Trump administration came in, and we then had some very tumultuous years that followed. And so the Refugee Task Force was very active throughout that time in all sorts of areas, and I think Bonnie will talk a little bit more about some of the different things that we did. Amongst them, we also, CBE along with Brooklyn Heights Synagogue and Kane Street Synagogue, formed a partnership and welcomed an asylum-seeking family from Chad. And so I was part of the group that started that, and I can tell you I'm still close with that family today. They're lovely people, they're doing very well in the city, and it was a CBE member who also helped them find their first home here in the city as well. Also, through the work that we were doing in the task force, we started furnishing homes for refugees and asylum seekers in the area that HIAS and the other refugee resettlement agencies would ask us to do. And we were finding more and more that this was a really big gap in services, that people in New York City, there's a very specific difference here in that logistics are much harder. So people spend a lot of time in shelter, and you'll be hearing tonight about many people in our city right now who are going through the shelter system in even larger numbers than in the past. But in general, refugees and asylum seekers who come to New York City often spend time in the shelter system. And then eventually they get into permanent housing, and any resources that are left that the agencies have, they need to spend on helping them just pay their rent. So we were finding a lot of people just sleeping on the floor in their new apartments, and we wanted to do something about that. So eventually, in cooperation with the refugee resettlement agencies in the city and many other organizations that work with asylum seekers here, we decided to found Ruth's Refuge. And this is an organization that I run today. It's a separate 501c3, but still counts many CBE members as volunteers and is very active here. And our mission is very simple. We furnish homes for refugees and asylum seekers. In 2022, we furnished homes for 106 families throughout the city. And we work with people from 25 different countries. This past year, a lot of folks from Afghanistan, Ukraine, but every year, lots of people from El Salvador, Honduras, many other areas of Central and South America and the Caribbean, and we're seeing, of course, more and more folks from Venezuela, Haiti, Nicaragua, Cuba, and so we're seeing more and more numbers from there. We work with families that range from size 2 to size 11 folks in the family, and we also work with single folks, a lot of LGBTQ plus asylum seekers in the city, many of whom have gone through detention and then the shelter system and now permanent housing. And I welcome any of you to get involved in this work. We always need more volunteers. People pick out everything they want for their home from our website that is set up, that Jackie Schicker helped set up, that is just for our clients to pick out everything they want. We then have volunteer teams that move everything that they've picked out from our storage units to their apartments. So we're always looking for people who want to help in inventory. Our storage units are in Gowanus at 3rd Avenue and 1st Street, so very convenient to here. And we're also always looking for people to join our apartment setup crews. And we partner with a lot of different synagogues and other faith groups in the city that decide to mount their own apartment setup crew and decide to pick a specific date. And you could have like folks from preschool parents decide that they want to all do it one time, things like that. But we also always take donations too of used furniture goods and lots of other types of items. So you can always check out on our website anything about that, and you can always talk to me about it.
Thank you so much, Leah. Thank you for the work you do and for those beautiful words. We'll invite Bonnie Kirker.
Thank you, Rabbi Colin. Thank you, Leah. And Shabbat Shalom, everyone. That was a nice response. Shabbat Shalom. All right. So at 5 o'clock one morning in July 2018, I found myself driving to Kennedy Airport. I picked up Hannah Rosenzweig, another CBE member, and nervously arrived at the airport to meet the refugee that this congregation had bailed out of detention at the border. Rosie had been separated near the US-Mexico border from the 2 children with whom she left Guatemala and would arrive at the airport alone. Her children were already in foster care here in the city. I didn't know what to expect, and I was nervous. I had immediately said yes when I was asked to meet her in New York City, but what do you say to someone who has run from violence in her own country, only to be jailed and torn apart from her children when she arrived in the United States? I didn't think I'd have the words. The night before, my children had asked me why I needed to get up so early, why I had to be the one to go. I answered the best I could. Because I can, I said. What I didn't say was that it was because I know you are safe and warm in your beds, because I know you will be there when I get home, because I can't fathom having you taken from me. Because I can, I must. My whole life, I've actually been struck by this privilege that enables me to say I can. I didn't always know how to articulate it, but I harbored guilt about where I was born, when I was born, and to whom I was born ever since I was a child. I had a lot of white guilt, and as a result, something of a white savior complex. I even joined the Peace Corps, which I do highly recommend after college. As I got older, I realized that while it wasn't my role to save the world, it was my role to use my privilege to help less privileged people realize their dreams. Rosie had a dream. She wanted to be reunited with her children and to keep her family safe. Who wouldn't want that? As I waited for her that day in the airport, I knew that given the political climate in this country, she would need support to attain her dream. When I finally met Rosie, no words were needed. Hannah, Rosie, and I just hugged and cried. Since then, Rosie has been reunited with her 2 sons. My family has spent a lot of time with them, sharing both difficult times and triumphs, sharing our common humanity. Things like parenting challenges, good food, and the joys of playing soccer with our kids. After 18 months of anxiety and delayed court hearings, Rosie received asylum in 2020. Today, she has her own apartment that she shares with 2 of her children. She has a job. Her younger son is doing well in 4th grade, and her older son just graduated from high school and is working. Her daughters, who remain in Guatemala, were just given an immigration appointment to come to this country, to reunite with their mother and their brothers after 5 long years apart. This community is part of Rosie's success story. You all came together to pay for her bond to get her out of detention. You housed her in her first months here and signed up to take her and her kids to medical and legal appointments, to teach her how to use the subway, to show her how to have fun in New York City for free with her kids. You took her grocery shopping. These seemingly small things made a huge difference. Without your support, she would never have been able to focus on all she needed to do to thrive in this country. You all made a difference. During the pandemic, this community came together again, donating food to pantries in Sunset Park that serve immigrants and refugees who experienced incredibly high rates of food insecurity during that time. Every week, you filled my car with produce, rice, and beans. People lined up around the block to pick up food at the pantries, and more people went home with grocery bags full of food on the days that I delivered the food that you donated. You made a difference. More recently, you've responded every time we've gotten messages at the task force from a refugee family that didn't have food, diapers, or formula to last the week, or from a mom saying that her kids didn't have gloves or hats. One family in particular was living in a homeless shelter, like Leah was talking about, in the Bronx. 6 people, 4 kids and 2 adults in one room. Through their grit and perseverance, they finally convinced the city to give them a voucher to subsidize a 3-bedroom apartment. And thanks to the amazing Leah Cover and her incredible volunteers, Ruth's Refuge filled her new home with furniture and beds. You donated and volunteered with Ruth's Refuge and filled the additional requests that came in every time. Because of you, that family's kids went to school with coats and boots. They have enough beds to sleep on. You made a difference. And just in December, you donated, sorted, and delivered 8 carloads full of toiletries, winter clothes, and laundry detergent to newly arrived asylum seekers. Many of these families are living in shelters right here on 4th Avenue. They came here on dangerous journeys to escape something even more dangerous. Without their needed medications, soap, winter clothing, feminine hygiene products, or any means to wash their clothes. Again, you made a difference. Since last spring, over 40,000 asylum seekers arrived in New York City, many of whom were bused from border states against their will. Volunteers like you, organized through an incredible organization called TLC NYC, greet the newcomers at Port Authority daily because the bus's arrivals are not coordinated with local government. Without volunteers, people would be arriving in one of the largest bus stations in the world, in one of the biggest cities in the world, without any idea of where to go or how to access services. And the mayor's office hasn't been able to allocate enough resources to support their basic needs: food, clothing, housing. Over the past few weeks, 250 new families arrived in Sunset Park, so many that the local food pantries can't feed them. Schools do their best to feed families during the week, but schools are closed on the weekends. And most recently, there's a plan to house 1,000 men on cruise ships in Red Hook, housing that may not have adequate heat. The influx of asylum seekers has challenged our city and our communities, but the challenges are only one part of the story. What if we looked at it differently? What if we put ourselves in our new neighbors' shoes and felt what they were feeling? If we were running from danger, protecting our families, what would it mean to us to have people who didn't know us reach out and help? People who might seem so different in so many ways, but who share so many of the same values. How would we be able to navigate our complicated and confusing immigration system if we were hungry and stressed out about how we were going to feed our children? How would our children feel safe and secure with empty bellies? Not everyone will have a story and an outcome like Rosie. I know that. But that shouldn't stop us from trying to make a difference in some way, however small it may seem. I hope you'll join us to continue making a difference for our new neighbors. We can do this, and we must, because we can. Thank you.
Yasher koach. Right, those are the words we say when somebody does an excellent job here in this space. Yasher koach. To both Bonnie and Leah, in a moment I'm going to invite up student Rabbi Evan Traylor. But first I just want to say how powerful it is to have your voices here, to see this world, this landscape of what it is like to come here and feel in exile from their own home, and just to see what this New York looks like through your eyes and through your experiences. These are two extremely humble human beings who have done extraordinary work, and not just them, so many here, and Jackie, and so many of you have done the things that they said that you did. They meant that. And I know that they aren't saying like, look at me, look what I have done, because they would never say something like that. And because this is something that all of us are invited to get involved in, and we really can make a great and grand difference. So you are both exceptional human beings, and thank you for inviting us to try to be exceptional with you. And so I'm so glad to invite forward our student rabbi, Evan Traylor, who's been working with this and has some project and ways in to share with you.
Yes, thank you, and thank you, Leah and Bonnie, again, and for all of the great work that has happened over so many years, and so many of you stepping up. I loved seeing at candlelighting all the people who have come and done something, said, yes, I can, and I must. And yet, as Bonnie said, the need continues, and there's a quite urgent need right now. So over the last few weeks, hundreds of asylum seekers have made their way to Brooklyn, and many of them are housed in shelters on 4th Avenue, just blocks from here. And in coordinating with some of the different organizations, working with them, including school and mutual aid groups, there's still an enormous need, and there's a way for our community, CBE, to rise and meet that need. And so starting next Shabbat, on February 11th from 12 to 1:30. We're going to gather, as many of us as possible, we're going to gather and package meals and deliver meals to people who really need it over on 4th Avenue. And the hope is that in the coming weeks and months that there will be more opportunities for us to continue meeting that need and meeting our neighbors, our new neighbors, and making sure that they have what they need in this city. So after services, there's going to be a sign-up sheet outside in the lobby. If you're available next Shabbat, February 11th, Saturday afternoon, to package, deliver meals, we would love to see you there. And if you have any questions, feel free to talk to myself, to Rabbi Colin, to Bonnie, to Leah, to Jackie. We want to make sure that even if you're not available next weekend, that there's some way for you to plug into this important work and to serve our neighbors, to take care of our neighbors. Shabbat Shalom.
Let's sing it one more time. If I forget you, Jerusalem, I'll play no more again, play no more again, not one more time. Won't you show me Jerusalem, raised and broken, raised and broken, alone on high. Let's all stand.
Thank you, Cantor. Well, because it is the first Friday of February, it means that we are going to celebrate smachot, our joys. Should we sit? No, we should definitely stand. We should definitely stand. Well, when we get to the other side of the waters of that sea, we sing. We sing. That's why it's called Shabbat Shirah, because we celebrate when wonderful, amazing, exciting, adventurous things happen to us and for us, big and small. And so we're going to sing a little tune, a bunch of words. Come on. There we go. Thank you, Cantor. And so we're going to celebrate. We want to hear all of the wonderful things that are happening for you. If somebody has something you want to celebrate from this past month or happening to you in this next month, let us know. What's going on for you? Going to raise your hand. Yes. There's some got a job. Mazel tov. What else is going on? Yes. There are a bunch of birthdays this month in your life. That's fantastic. Thank you, Jonah. Happy birthday to all of those birthdays. What else? Yes. You turned 30. Happy birthday. That's wonderful. Yes. 10 days in Israel and welcome home. What's going on back here? CVE, what kind of things are you celebrating? Yes. Pitchers and catchers report. When do they report? It's a big year for the Mets, obviously. Clearly. What else is going on for you? You had your first $5,000 week. I don't know what that means, but Mazel tov. This is a big deal. That's really great. A blessing. What else? The days are getting longer. All right. Yes. The sap is rising. And, a few more, yes. Doris is going on vacation. Yes. Happy birthday, Mazel Tov. Yes. Mazel Tov. Mazel Tov. Unbelievable, wonderful joy. Yes. Happy birthday, Ariel.
משפחות האדמה שלא שם חלקנו כהם וגורלנו ככל עמונם ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. Middle of 590. כי המלכות שלך היא ולעולמי עד תמלוך בכבוד ככתוב בתורתך אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד אוי ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד. Please be seated.
As we turn towards if there's somebody from the board who wanted to offer welcomes or thanks? Is there somebody? No. Nope. As we come towards the conclusion of this service, we always turn towards memory to take all of those stories that are the ones we tell and that weave our story, that make us who we are. And we think about those people that we wish were sitting right next to us, or whose hand we could still hold, whose voice we could still hear, who we could still pick up the phone and call. And we bring them into this space, their memory, their presence, their legacy, their love. We bring them here with us, and we remember them. We remember them in community, and that brings them back to us in so many different ways. If you are here in a period of Shiva, the first week of your loss, we want to invite you to rise and share the name of the person you're grieving with us. I'm sorry to hear. Thank you. And if you can remain standing if you're comfortable. If this is the first month of your loss, we want to invite you to rise and share their name. Thank you. If this is a year, the first year of your loss, we want to invite you to rise and share their name. Thank you for sharing his memory with us. If you are here for a yard site, an anniversary of a death, we invite you to rise and share their name with us. We now in community rise to surround you as we remember from this congregation's community in their period of Shloshim, Zeulon Mir-Elashvili, grandfather of Alex Moshiavishvili, Anita Wasserman, grandmother of Jonathan Spear, Shirley Berman, aunt of Rob Brown, Adele Wasco, mother of Bob Wasco and mother-in-law of Sue Wasco, Howard Welsh, husband of Sylvia Welsh, father of Rebecca Welsh, and Jennifer Welsh Zupnick, father-in-law of Matt Harrigan, and Ben Zupnick, and grandfather of Henry and Jane. And we are remembering on the anniversary of their death, Carrie Altschiller, Fanny Barr, Florence Barrick Lipman, David Barron, Leonard Baumrin, Aaron Beckenstein, Sarah Becker, Mary Berger, Jean Bigler-Rockman, Irving Blaustein, Stella Bloom, Damian Bona, Annie Brown, Clive Chaget, Hildy Cohen, William Cowan, Bernard Dauman, Frederick David, Darce Davis, Rebecca Edson, Ruth Fader, Anna Frankel, Anna Gartenberg, Florence Gernsheimer, Samuel Gilson, Abraham Noah Glick, Ivan Gross, Henrietta Hamburger, Dr. Samuel Hurwitz, Abraham Jacob Ullman, Francis Jaffe, Nathan Jaffe, Rhoda Jaffin, Bernard Kahn, Alan Katzman, Suzanne Kaufman, Susan Kaiser, Samuel Nitzer, Clyde Krell, Abraham Kriegel, Frederick Edwin Lieber, Philip Lippman, Selma Mannheimer Rosenwasser, Nuna Marciano, Miriam Moskowitz, Sheila Muehlbauer, Anna Neymark, Mamie Newman Simon, Randy Pace, Arnold Poman, Ruth Louise Rasner, Louis Riebstein, Lester Rosen, H. Norman Runsdorf, David Sarfati, Rose Schoenfeld, Larry Shukin, Bessie Schwartz, Tilly Schwartz, Samuel Shebitz, Peter Sharon, Sadie Shearer, Wolf Salkin, Ann Solomon, Lila Solomon, Isaac Steinberg, Sandor Stossel, Philip Tesser, David Vogel, Charles Wexler, Paul Wolf, Anthony Yokel, Walter Yokel. Their memories are a blessing. On page 598, we offer Kaddish Yatom together. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabba.
Amen.
Bialma divorach hirute v'yamlich malchute. B'chayachon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'gala v'zman kariv v'imru. Amen.
Amen.
Yehei shmei Rabba mevarach le'olam olmei olmaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitbar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudasha b'richu. La'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata da'amiran bi'alma v'imru. Amen. Yehei shlama Rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'imru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav. Hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'al kol Yisrael v'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru. Amen. May the one who creates harmony on high bring peace to all who mourn. We say together,
Amen. The bottom of page 647, as we read it again in this week's Torah portion. My ability to be strong together with my ability to sing, these will bring me salvation. Ozi vezimradia vayehili lishua. Yeshua.
וזמרת ויהי לי לישועה. עוזי וזמרת ויהי לי לישועה. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Please join us for Oneg.